Good morning, children. Our next topic is Internet of Things. So we are all are familiar with the word IoT or Internet of Things. So let us see what is Internet of Things. The term computer network that we commonly use is the network of computers. When two computers are connected together using a wire or using Bluetooth or a mobile phone connected to the computer through USB cable all becomes a network. Such a network consists of a laptop, desktop, server or a portable device like tablet, smartphone, smartwatch, etc. Connected through wire or wireless is a network. We can communicate between these devices using internet or just a connection called type connection forming a local area network where no internet is required, just a connection is there. Now, can you imagine that the devices in our home like our bulb, fan, refrigerator, washing machine, microwave ovens, all these become a part of our network? How will they communicate with each other and what will they communicate? Think about the advantages and tasks that can be accomplished if all these devices with smart connectivity features are able to communicate among themselves and we are able to communicate with them using computers or smartphones. Have you seen we can use our mobile phones to switch off our TV, switch off our phone, or switch on or off the fridge, refrigerator, or washing machine? Such tasks can be performed in our mobile phones using our mobile phones. That is called Internet of Things. The Internet of Things is a network of devices that have an embedded hardware and software to communicate with other devices on the same network. When we operate our TV or air condition using a mobile phone, that comes under Internet of Things or IoT. At present, in a typical household, many devices have advanced hardware and software. These devices are used in isolation from each other with maximum human intervention needed for operation, directions, and input data. IoT tends to bring together these devices to work in collaboration and assist each other in creating an intelligent network of things. For example, if a microwave oven, an air conditioner, or door lock, or CCTV camera, or such other devices are enabled to connect to the internet, we can access and remotely control them on the go using a smartphone. That is, if we forgot to switch off our light, then when we reached our office, then we remembered that we have forgotten to switch off our light. Then, with the help of internet, IoT, Internet of Things, we can switch off the light from our office. Or if we forgot to switch off the AC, we can switch off our AC from sitting at our office. These all things are possible because of Internet of Things. Even we can lock the door. For these, our equipments or our devices should be equipped with a sensor so that it can communicate with our mobile phone and transfer the data. Same type of Internet of Things is an application of Internet of Things, or a part of Internet of Things is the Web of Things. In Internet of Things, that allows us to interact with different devices through internet. with the help of smartphones or computers, thus creating a personal network. In Internet of Things, we are connecting our devices and creating a personal network. But if we want to connect to n number of different devices, so we need to install n different applications. If there were a single application to use all these devices to be connected together, wouldn't it be convenient to have one interface to connect all these devices? The web is already being used as a system to communicate with each other. So, will it be possible to use the web in such a way that all things can communicate with each other in the most efficient manner by integrating them together? So, Web of Things or WOT allows the use of web services to connect anything in the physical world besides human identities on web. It will pave way for creating smart homes, smart offices, smart cities, and so on. That is, if in our air condition, if a sensor is placed and that sensor will check the working of the air condition and it will send if the air condition has to be repaired, or then it sends a message or sends an SMS to the service center that this air condition has to be serviced, and the service person will come and inform that the air condition is to be serviced. Such things are taking place nowadays because of the technologies like Web of Things and Internet of Things. That is, our devices around us are becoming smart and creating smart homes and smart offices or smart cities. So, for a device to become smart or to communicate with other devices, a device called sensors are needed. So, have you seen what happens when you hold your mobile phone vertically or horizontally? The display also changes to vertical or horizontal with respect to the way we hold our mobile phone. So this is possible with the help of two sensors in our mobile phone, namely accelerometer and gyroscope. So this accelerometer sensor in the mobile phone detects the orientation of the phone, and the gyroscope sensor tracks rotation or twist of your hand and adds to the information supplied by the accelerometer. Sensors are very commonly used for monitoring and observing elements in the real world applications. The evolution of smart electronic sensors is contributing in a large way to the evolution of Internet of Things. It will lead to creation of new sensor-based intelligent systems. A smart sensor is a device that takes input from the physical environment and uses built-in computing resources to perform predefined functions upon detection of specific input and the process data before passing it on. So with the help of sensors, we are able to create a smart device. If a sensor is embedded in a device, then the sensor can trace or track the data, and with the help of data, it can perform its functions and send or communicate with the other devices. Next topic is smart cities. With rapid urbanization, the load on our cities is increasing day by day, and there are challenges in management of resources like land, water, waste, air pollution, health and sanitation, traffic congestion, public safety and security. Besides the overall city infrastructures including road, rail, bridge, electricity, subways, disaster management, sports facilities, etc. These challenges are forcing many city planners around the world to look for smarter ways to manage them and make cities sustainable and livable. Cities like Mumbai or very populated cities are facing large amount of problems like air pollution, water pollution, traffic jams. So all these problems can be solved by making the cities smarter. To make the cities smarter, we have to make all the equipments smarter. That is, all these things used in the city should become smarter. Every sphere of life in a city like transportation system, power plants, water supply networks, waste management, law enforcement, information systems, schools, libraries, hospitals and other community services work in unison to optimize the efficiency of city operations and services. It makes use of computer and communication technology along with Internet of Things and Web of Things to manage and distribute resources efficiently. To make a city smart, we have to use the applications of Internet of Technology and Web of Technology to make the city smarter. You can see in a figure the smart buildings are shown. Here, users use sensors to detect. These buildings use sensors to detect earthquake tremors and then warn the nearby buildings so that they can prepare themselves that an earthquake is going to come. And the smart bridge uses sensors to detect any loose bolt or cable or crack in the bridge. Then there is a smart tunnel that use wireless sensors to detect any leakage or congestion in the tunnel. So these informations are sent as wireless signals across the network of sensor nodes to centralized computers for further analysis. So based on these analysis, the further task is measures are taken to resolve the problem. So in a smart city, they use the applications of Internet or Things and Web of Things to make the city smarter. That is, in each application, in each field or each part of the city, they implement the application of Internet of Things, IoT and WOT. Next topic is cloud computing. So we all are using some of the facilities provided by cloud computing. So let us see what is a cloud computing. Cloud computing is an emerging trend in the field of information technology, where computer-based services are delivered over the internet or the cloud for the ease of their accessibility from anywhere using any smart device. The services provided by clouds can be software, hardware, databases, storage, etc. These resources are provided by companies called cloud service providers and usually charge on pay per use basis, like the way we pay for electricity charge. We already use cloud services while storing our pictures and files as backup on internet or host a website on the internet. So now currently we are using our Google Classroom. In that, all the data that we upload to the classroom are stored in a Google Drive. So our Google Drive is also a cloud where we are using a extra storage place other than our computer system. We are storing our data in a cloud or in a computer which is located somewhere else. So our Google Drive is an example of a cloud storage where we are storing our classroom data. What we upload in our classroom are stored in a cloud called Google Drive, or we store data in Dropbox. That Dropbox is also a cloud. So cloud is a computer, a collection of computers that is located somewhere and stores our data. Through cloud computing, a user can run a bigger application or process a large amount of data without having the required storage or processing power on their personal computer, as long as they are connected to the internet. Besides other numerous features, cloud computing offers cost-effective, on-demand resources. A user can avail need-based resources from the cloud at a very reasonable cost. That is, we can access the hardware or software resources from the cloud. So it becomes advantageous for us that the software we do not have to buy, and its storage space is also saved. Then some softwares can be used for a short period of time, or we can even use expensive hardwares like servers for a short period of time. Then it can be available for us in a reasonable cost, because it can be paid for a usage like our electricity bill. How much we use, only for that we have to pay. Now our cloud provides us different types of services. So let us see what are the different types of services our cloud provides. A better way to understand the cloud is to interpret everything as a service. So what all things the cloud provides us is considered as a service. A service corresponds to any facility provided by the cloud. There are three standard models to categorize different computing services delivered through cloud. So there are three types of services that the cloud provides. They are infrastructure as a service, that is IaaS. Then platform as a service, that is PaaS. Then software as a service, SaaS. So let us see what are the different services. First one is infrastructure as a service. In IaaS, providers can offer different kinds of computing infrastructure such as servers, virtual machines, storage and backup facility, network components, operating systems, or any hardware or software. So in infrastructure service providers provide us different computing infrastructures like hardwares and softwares, like they provide us servers or virtual machines, or storage and backup is provided. Then network components are provided. Then they provide us the operating system or any hardware or software. Using IaaS from the cloud, a user can use the hardware infrastructure located at a remote location. Suppose if we are starting up a new company and we need a server, but it is very much costly and we cannot accommodate that server because of its cost. So we can use that server from the cloud. From a distant location, we can use that server, and we have to pay only for the amount of time we are using it. So it is very much cost effective also. So hardware using an IaaS from the cloud, a user can use the hardware infrastructure located at a remote location to configure, deploy and execute any software application on that cloud infrastructure. Also, they can outsource the hardware and software on demand basis and pay as per the usage. Thereby, they can save the cost of the software, hardware and other infrastructure, as well as the cost of setting up and maintenance and security. That is, to set up a server or a machine and to set up or install a software, all these requires much amount of cost, and we have to maintain that device also, and its security is also to be considered. So if we are using that services from the cloud, then no need of bothering about the setting up cost, its maintenance and its security. So we don't have to bother about all these things. So applications like DigitalOcean, Linode, Rockspace, Amazon Web Service, Cisco Metapod, Microsoft Azure, Google Compute Engine are examples of infrastructure as a service, that is IaaS. Next type of service is platform as a service or PaaS. In PaaS provides a platform or environment to develop, test and deliver software applications. According to the name itself, PaaS provides a platform. That is, if we want to develop a web application using MySQL and Python, to run this application online, we can avail a pre-configured Apache server from cloud, having MySQL and Python pre-installed in it. Thus, we are not required to install MySQL and Python on the cloud, nor do we need to configure the web server. If we are doing in our computer system, we have to install the Apache web server, then install the applications like MySQL and Python. If we are using the platform service provided by the PaaS, provided by the cloud, then we don't have to install MySQL or Python or the web server. In PaaS, the user has complete control over the developed application and its configuration. It provides a development environment for developers at a much required cost, lessening the complexity of buying and managing the underlying hardware and software. That is, only just we are using the platform to develop the application. After the application is being developed, it is under the control of the user only who has developed it. So the applications of the softwares that provide this service are AWS Elastic Beanstalk, Windows Azure, Heroku, Force.com, Google App Engine, Apache Stratos, OpenShift. Next type of service is software as a service or SaaS. SaaS provides on-demand access to application software, usually requiring a license or subscription by the user. While using Google Doc, Microsoft Office 365, Dropbox, etc., to edit a document online, we use SaaS from cloud. Whenever we open a Google Doc or Google Sheets or Google Slides, whenever we don't need of saving it our computer. Just we have to edit and it will be saved automatically in the cloud, that is in a Google Drive. It is automatically stored. That is, all these applications or softwares are the applications provided by the that we are using from the cloud. It is not concerned about installation or configuration of the software application as long as the required software is accessible. Like PaaS, a user is provided access to the required configuration settings of the application software they are using at present. In order to utilize and harness the benefits of cloud computing, Government of India has embarked upon an ambitious initiative, that is GI Cloud, which has been named as Meghraj. Government of India has provided a website which can be used for cloud computing. That is benefits of cloud computing, that is Meghraj. Its URL is http://cloud.gov.in. Next is grid computing. So what is grid computing? A grid is a computer network of geographically dispersed and heterogeneous computational resources. Unlike cloud computing, whose primary focus is to provide services, a grid is more application specific and creates a sense of virtual supercomputer with an enormous processing power and storage. In a grid computing, whatever data we are given to a one computer is equally divided and shared among other computers connected to it. And if we give it a task to perform some operation, then the task itself is divided into small tasks, and each task is given to different computers connected to it. Each computer connected to the different computers are called nodes. These different nodes temporarily come together to solve a single large task and reach a common goal. Nowadays, countless computational nodes ranging from handheld mobile devices to personal computers and workstations are connected to local area network or internet. Therefore, it is economically feasible to reuse or utilize their resources like memory as well as processing power. The grid provides an opportunity to solve computationally intense scientific and research problems without actually procuring a costly hardware. If a server is continuously given data or continuously given request, then there is a chance that the server gets blocked or gets crashed. So if the data that reaches the server is given to all the other servers connected to it, then the work of that server also gets reduced and the task can be computed in a much less amount of time. Grids can be of two types. They are data grid, used to manage large and distributed data having the required multi-user access. That is, whenever data reaches a server, the data is equally distributed among different nodes connected to the main server or main node. And in CPU or processor grid, where processing is moved from one PC to another as needed, or large task is divided into subtasks and allotted to various nodes for parallel processing. If a task if a task has to be performed by one processor, then it is distributed. It is broken into small tasks and each work is given to all the other computers and they all perform their task and do and create the result and store and produce the total output by combining their total result. Grid computing is different from IaaS cloud service. In case of IaaS service, there is service provider who runs the required infrastructure to the user. Whereas in grid computing, multiple computing nodes join together to solve a common computational problem. To set up a grid by connecting numerous nodes in terms of data as well as CPU, a middleware is required to implement the distributed processor architecture. If the computers are connected, that is nodes are connected, they have to become a distributed system. That is, the processor should act as a distributed system. That is, it should distribute the data to all the nodes connected to it, or it should distribute the task to all the nodes connected to it. For that, it needs a middleware. The Globals Toolkit is one such software toolkit used for building grids. To become a node in a grid computing system, there is a software called Globals Toolkit. It is open source, that is, its source code is available. It provides security, resource management, data management, communication and fault detection. Next topic is blockchains. So we all are familiar, have heard the term blockchain. So what is a blockchain? Traditionally, we perform digital transactions by storing data in a centralized database where the transactions performed are updated one by one on the database. Like in our banking system, when we transfer money, then the change is made in our database and in the data of the other person whom we are transferring the money. So during a transaction, the changes are updated one by one in the database where the data is stored, where the bank's data is stored. The transaction details or the amount of money credited and debited are updated in a place where data is stored, that is in the database. This is how ticket booking websites or banks operate, just by updating the data stored in the database. However, since all the data is stored on a central location, all the data are stored in a central location called database, there is a chance that the data can be lost if the central system fails, or there is a chance of hacking the data. So we have a new technology called blockchain technology was introduced. It works on the concept of decentralized and shared database. That is, the data is not stored in a central system, but it is stored in a shared database. That is, different data is shared in different places, in different databases. Whether each computer has a copy of the database, where each computer has a copy. So if a hacker wants to hack a system, a computer, he has to hack all the computers that are connected and forming a chain. It has to hack all the computers. So it becomes difficult for the hacker to hack only one system and get the data. A block can be thought of as a secured chunk of data or valid transaction. So a transaction is considered as a block. Each block has some data called its header, which is visible to other node, while only the owner has the access to the private data of the block. Such blocks form a chain called blockchain. So a block has a header regarding the data, and there is a private data regarding the transactions carried out, account number, and such data are only visible to the private owner of that data who had made the transaction, and it is not visible to any other. So the data are in the form of a chain. Transaction is in the form of a chain. So if anybody makes any change, or a hacker makes any change in the data in the chain, then the whole data stored in the different previous blocks also will get affected, and there results a mismatch in the data, because whole the data are in the form of a chain. That is, one data is linked to the other, one block is linked to the other, forming a chain. So if ever a hacker changes or makes any mischief, or makes any change in the block in a blockchain, then the blockchain will then it will become easy to understand which block has been affected. That is, that block becomes different from the other blocks. That is, the chain breaks, and it will be notified to the owner that the data has been altered, and it becomes easy to identify the theft or change in the data while using the blockchain technology. So blockchain technology is much secure than other type of transaction methods. We can define blockchain as a system that allows a group of connected computers to maintain a single, updated, and secure ledger. Each computer or node that participates in the blockchain receives a full copy of the database. It maintains an append-only open ledger, which is updated only after all the nodes within the network authenticate the transaction. Whenever a new block is appended, a new transaction takes place, a new block is appended into the chain. So that way a chain goes on, and if ever any data is modified in the chain, in the block, then the entire chain will be affected, and we can easily identify which block in the chain has been affected. Here, safety and security of the transaction are ensured because all the members in the network keep a copy of the blockchain. And so it is not possible for a single member of the network to make changes or alter the data. The most application of blockchain technology is in the digital currency. However, due to its decentralized nature with openness and security, blockchains are being seen as one of the ways to ensure transparency, accountability, and efficiency in business as well as in governance systems. For example, in healthcare, better data sharing between healthcare providers would result in higher probability of accurate diagnosis. In our blockchain system is used in bitcoins, that is in digital currencies. For transfer of data, for transfer of currency, they used blockchain system so that it keeps the transaction secure. That is, both the sender and the receiver are only there present. No intermediate person is there in between the sender and the receiver. Like an intermediate person is there in our banking in between the sender and the receiver. But in digital currency, there is no intermediate person between a sender and the receiver because it follows a blockchain technology. Here, after the transaction is entered as a block in the chain. So this same blockchain technology is used in healthcare systems for storing the data of the patients. So any alteration in the data is not made. the data received to the doctor is accurate. Then another potential application can be for land registration records. That is, there are many problems arising in the land registration records. Then the blockchain technology are nowadays followed in case of land registration, so that there is no fight in the ownership of the land that is transferred from one person to the other. That is, all the details are securely stored and it cannot be altered like in a database or in a paper. Then a blockchain based voting system can solve the problem of vote alterations and other issues. If ever a vote alteration is performed, then the blockchain technology will easily identify whether there is a change in the previously made data. Since everything gets stored in the ledger, voting can become more transparent and authentic. Blockchain technology can be used in diverse sectors such as banking, media, telecom, travel and hospitality, and in other areas. Okay children, thank you.